your child is hitting, kicking, biting, and having these really tough behaviors, and you're a parent of a 1 to 6 year old, then this episode is for you. Welcome to Tantrums of Talking. My name is Laura. I am a licensed pediatric speech therapist and a certified teacher here in New York City with a private practice and an online parent coaching program, Tantrums to Talking. So let's get started. Okay, so for kids who are hitting, kicking, biting. So, how we're going to react to this is a little bit different depending on the child's age and stage of development. We do not want to use just a blanket approach for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 year olds. They're in such different body and brain, different places from their brain and body development perspective. So we want to use different approaches that are tailored to your child's age and development. So the first thing I would say is if we are starting with ones and twos, we really need to think about where they are from their brain perspective. So they're really thinking about me, 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 me. Everything is me, 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 me. That's why they say mine so much. They'll grab something and say mine and bring it to their chest. Um, and we want this. We actually want this because it shows them that they have a sense of self. They're developing their sense of self that's separate from their world, separate from their caregivers, and this eventually develops into perspective taking skills so that they can see the perspective of others. But first, before they do that, they really have to develop their sense of self with me, mine. So everything is from their perspective. So when a 1 or 2 year old is hitting or kicking or biting you, they're not necessarily thinking like, oh, this is going to hurt this person. They're not like malicious in that way. They're just trying to control their environment. They just try things. They just experiment with their world. They're trying to like maybe get something from you, but it's all about me, 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 me. Okay. So we have to remember that and keep that in mind and meet them at that level where they're at. Okay. So this is how we do it. For example, a child will, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of families in person and online, and I have been hit, kicked, bitten by many 1 and 2 year olds. And a lot of times parents will rush over and be like, oh my gosh, like don't do that, blah, blah, blah. They'll get into a big back and forth. It's like a huge deal. But I actually want parents to go the opposite direction, okay? This is what I tell parents. This is what I say in my head when a child like hits me really hard or bites me or kicks me really hard. This is what I say in my head. I am not entertaining this behavior. And I want parents to use that phrase too, because what we want at that age when they hit, kick, or bite is total disengagement. Everything stops no matter what we're doing. And it's like, we're not engaging, we're not entertaining that behavior. I literally say in my head, I am not entertaining this behavior. So I say that to myself, and sometimes it stings. Like literally, it stings when they hit you in the face, for example, or sometimes it stings emotionally. It's like, what the heck? Like we were just playing fine. Why did you hit me in the face? But I'm literally saying to myself, I am not entertaining this behavior. And I take a step back and I just turn my head and my body away. Okay. So that's really important. I'm not engaging. I'm not having a back and forth with them. I'm cutting it off right there and then. And if they try to like swipe you again, hit you again, kick you again, just get up and take a few steps back. And again, sit down. You're super calm. Any behavior they're doing, we're not letting them lead us down that road. In fact, we're the ones leading them down a different road. And we do this by being totally calm, totally chill, being like, anything you do is not going to interrupt my peace, basically. I'm sitting there, I'm turning away, my head and my body are turning away. In my head, I'm not entertaining that behavior. They're not going to understand that if we say it to them. So that's why we use our body language at 1 and 2 years old. My face is completely neutral. I'm not upset. I'm not sad. I'm not anything. completely neutral, just turning away. And it's quiet. And there's a big difference between this and ignoring. Ignoring a behavior tends to go on, and the child freaks out. It's like this whole thing. But this is just disengaging momentarily. We done right, this should just be for a few beats, a few moments, okay? Like not even more than like I would say 3, 4 minutes max. Okay, this is not full blown ignoring. And usually it's not even that long, it's just momentarily turning away, disengaging. And the reason this works at this stage is because the child is at this age, at 1 and 2 years old, they're reading your every little micro cue. Okay, this is like a survival mechanism. When when they have a caregiver, right, that caregiver is everything to them. They're reading every little micro cue that you do, right? So if they're reading, oh, she's turning away, she's disengaging, like they might try something, they might try to like come hit you again or do something to get your attention again, but they'll see, oh, this isn't working. And I really want my caregiver's attention and I really want my caregiver's engagement. So then at that point, what they'll probably do is something like, oh, like basically telling you that they're sad, telling you that they're upset. And that is an emotion, an action where we can engage, right, in a healthy way. Hitting, no. But them going like, oh, like that is basically them saying, I'm sad, like come back to me. So this is something we can engage with. So at that point, I turn back to them and I show them the replacement behavior, what I want them to replace that hitting, kicking, biting with. So at 1s and 2s, it's very simple. For 2-year-olds, I might say, like, say, come here, mama, or say, come here, dada, or even just come. And if they're very young, if they're like 18 months, I might say, like, go like this. And if you're listening on the podcast, this is just like a gesture with my arm and my hand for come here, come closer. Once they do that, you give them everything. You give them all the attention, all the engagement, and you're showing them this works. This works to get my attention. Not hitting. This works when you say, come here, or gesture for me to come closer. This is when I give you everything you're looking for, which is that caregiver, love, attention, engagement, affection. So you're making that crystal clear for them, for a 1 and 2-year-old. 3, 4, and 5-year-old, it's a little bit different because they do have more of an understanding. They do have perspective taking when it comes to hitting, kicking, biting, how it affects another person. So we need to keep that in mind. It is a similar concept in that if a 3-year-old hits me, it's disengagement immediately. And then it's usually more of a direct consequence, like let's say they threw a block at me because they were frustrated about something. I'm like, okay, now we have to say bye bye blocks. We're all done with blocks. And you see how my tone is not like harsh. It's not like anything like that. It's just very neutral. It's just like, this is it, period. Very short, very sweet. And we put away the blocks. And then I might sit there and say, after a little bit, we don't want, if they're super emotional, like if they're really tantruming, of course we need to deal with that tantrum first. But let's say they just threw the block, we put it away, and we're just sitting there, and I might say like, my leg hurts, like that block really hurt my leg when you threw it, like look, a boo-boo. We really want to make them, have them connect the dots very clearly. If it's with another child, of course we remove them from the child right away. It's a little different when it's with another child, with a sibling, or with an adult. But then we want them to connect the dots. We don't want to just say like, say sorry. We want to show them like, look, they have a boo-boo now. We need to get them some ice. We need to get them a Band-Aid. We need to ask them, do you want a glass of water? Because the difference here is that they can do the perspective taking much more. And we want to make it really clear, like, this was the result of your actions, and this is how they're feeling. This is what they're going through now because you hit, kicked, or bit, you know? So we want to make that really clear. And it really depends, like, again, if the child is very emotionally charged, we need to deal with that first and foremost. And I have other podcast episodes explaining how to do that. But if it's like the child just did something and they're just like, I'm going to throw this at you, I'm going to hit you, like, and they're pretty calm after, that's when we can really first disengage and then kind of teach more of the lesson. That's the difference between ones and twos and three, four, five, six, is we can teach more of the lesson, help them connect the dots more of the result of what they did and what happened. And then you can talk to them about it later, like even later that night or the next day when they are calm, you can say, oh, like you hit sister and she got really hurt. Her arm hurt. It stung. We had to get her ice. Look, you notice how I'm talking really slow and keeping it simple? I'm not blaming, I'm just kind of retelling what happened. We want the child to kind of digest and process, like, oh, yeah, that did happen. Like, connect the dots between their actions. Because when they hit, kick, or bite, they're moving so fast, they're not necessarily thinking, I'm going to bite her now, or I'm going to kick her or hit her now. They're just moving so fast, usually in an emotional state. So then it can also be helpful for later on to slow things down, help them process and understand what's going on. And so that can be extremely, extremely helpful as well for them to then connect the dots and really learn the lessons and values of, I don't want to hurt other people. I don't want to make them feel bad. And you can really draw this out, make it a whole little story. Again, it's not about blame, but it's about them processing and understanding exactly their action and the result of their action. And three, four, five, especially three and a half and up, I would say, they do have the capacity to like understand like a short little story about what happened. And you can bring it up, like, I would say one or two times more and talk about it after the fact with them. And this isn't like, that's not the consequence. The consequence is the disengagement, the take, like, we're putting this away now very neutrally. And I would say, like, bringing ice, bringing comfort, bringing teddy bear, bringing water to whoever they hurt. That's the consequence. And really, like, you can draw that out as well for like 20 plus minutes, bringing them a band-aid. Like, let's ask, what else do they need? Let's ask, are you okay? Like, that's the consequence. And it's a consequence closely tied to their action. So this is exactly what I do. And it looks a little bit different for every child and every family, depending on what's going on, what their behavior development looks like. So this is exactly what I do in my Tantrums of Talking program. It's a lot of hand holding, and I take parents through each of these steps, and we go way more in depth and tailor it to your specific child. So that's my Tantrums to Talking program. The application is linked below if you are interested in applying.